In this video, we will show how to create lab requisition through HESN electronic surveillance network. Through this system, we have enabled a new functionality for lab module as a substitute of the original formatting of the UDF for MERS cases F117, for example. So this is a complete module for the lab. The electronic order for the lab requisition will be submitted through HESN production, and the result will be reported by regional lab or whatever lab is doing the test in HESN portal, and the result is integrated to HESN production and can be displayed by the hospital. So you're working at the hospital and now you need to create a lab requisition, a lab request for the client that has been suspected for MERS case in your hospital. The first thing is to create a file for that client on HESN. طبعا search for that client. If you did not find a record for him, you will create client and then you will create investigation for suspected case of MERS. And you will have the client ID and investigation ID both in context. The first thing to do when you need to create lab requisition, first of all, this is your first time to use the lab module in HESN production, you need to add the regional lab that you are usually sending results to into your user profile. So you will go to my account and then you will click on user profile. This will make your life easier each time you are creating lab request. You will add the list of laboratories you are usually sending lab requisitions to. And you, once you do this, you will receive it as a drop-down list of favorite receiving labs, as we will see in the lab request screen. So in this user profile screen, you will make sure that all your data is reported correctly, and if there is anything wrong with your mobile number, with anything, you can contact HESN support to correct this data, or you can correct some by yourself, like your number and others. So you will make sure that your default SDL is right, which means the hospital that you are working in, and you can change your preferred language, preferred calendar from here. And here is your email, and here service delivery location. You will add the lab you are usually sending lab requests to. So for this user, we can see Jeddah Regional Lab, and let's assume we are also sending lab requests to the National Health Laboratory, for example. National Health Laboratory, I will write its name, then select and click on Add SDL. I have it here. Now I have 3 roles and I will click Save. Once I saved it, I will have in the drop-down list of receiving lab 3 SDLs. Okay, so for now we need to go back to investigations module and we need to create a lab request. All we need to do is to display the investigation summary and see the data in investigation summary. In investigation summary, there is a section for lab tests. Here we can see it, and it's blank because I have just created the investigation. So I will click here on lab summary, or I can select it from left navigation bar also here. It appears as lab summary. In lab summary screen, we will create lab requisition and fill all related data. So in case there is previous order of lab request, we can see it in this table. There is nothing, so we can specify requisition type as human and we'll click on create requisition. In create requisition screen, we will fill all related information. So the service delivery location is the hospital that is sending the lab request or asking for the lab test to be done, which is your hospital. You need to make sure that your hospital is recorded correctly, as we said earlier. And then receiving lab, we will use favorite location. From the drop-down list, we have updated recently. I did not log out. You need to log out and re-log in to make sure that the National Health Laboratory is added here. So for now, I have Jeddah Regional Lab. So once you updated your list of favorite SDLs, you need to log out and log in again, and the drop-down list will be updated. National Health Laboratory will be added. For now, let's proceed. Let's assume that we are sending this MERS test to Jeddah Regional Lab. And in case you have another location, you can add it from here. Of course, you can use embedded find component here. Find, you will write its name, then select, and you can proceed. Test urgency is routine, and reason for testing is diagnosis, for example. طبعا this might be different. And the requisition date, you will update it here. It's defaulted to today. If it's not today, you can update it. Provider type, we can use ordering. You should select ordering provider, and you should select Dr. Ahmed Hamid, for example, his name, and add provider. We will proceed with a specimen. You will specify what type of specimen you are sending. So let's assume it's body substance or fluid sample, and you will specify its site, and you will specify collection date at time. So let's assume it's at 10:15 a.m. and click on add. You can add also description if you want. Now we need to specify the test, the section of lab tests. We can specify the specimen that we have added previously. So it's body substance and fluid sample. For MERS test, the only way to request the MERS test is using test panel. So here there's many different ways of asking for the test or requesting a test. Test panel, test type, test name, or test code. If you have the test name or test code, you can add it directly. But for MERS, and to make it easier, because there are multiple tests for MERS, we can use test panel. It's recommended to use only test panel. Test panel will only be used for MERS tests. So test panel encounter group is corona and seasonal influenza, and the test panel is MERS panel, and you will click on add. Once you have added, you have here selected lab tests, ORF1 and UPEG1. Here are, once you have clicked on test panel, you did not need to add each test separately. You have added the two tests once you selected MERS panel. Then you will click on save, but you have to notice that when you click on save, it's only saved as a draft. Requisition created successfully as a draft. The status, requisition status here, you need to check that it's a draft and it's not submitted to the regional lab. The lab will not be able to see the requisition and receive it and update its results electronically through HESN portal until you submit that request. So you need to click on submit. We'll click on submit. Once you click on submit, this request will be displayed on the page of the lab in HESN portal for regional lab users. They will receive it once they have this specimen physically, and they will record the lab results. You can print the lab requisition here through requisition. You can specify which requisition you need to print, and you can print requisition. Once you print the requisition, you can attach it to the sample, and it will be sent. It will be saved as PDF. You can print it and attach it to the specimen, and it will be sent to the regional lab to make it easier for them to search for that requisition. So requisition ID is 1176, and requisition status is submitted. Okay, and that's it. In case you need to search and you need to update to know the updates on the requisition status, you will search for that requisition through search lab to make it easier to reach directly to the requisition. So we can search lab, and we will specify either client number or directly requisition ID. We will with the requisition ID and search by requisition ID. So you have different criteria for search, and you can see that it is still, there is no result, and the test status is still submitted. Once the requisition have been received or rejected in the regional lab, it will be reported, and then when the result is complete, it will be complete, and so on. So once the result is submitted here, you will see once the result, the specimen is rejected, it will also be updated here in this table. And that's it. This is the way you can create lab requisition through the lab module in HESN. Anyone who has the role of creating investigation, he is supposed to be able to create a lab requisition for that disease. For MERS, it's only recommended to use MERS panel. For TB also, it's TB panel, and for other diseases, it depends. But for MERS and TB, for now, you will use MERS panel and TB panel. Okay, and that's it. If you need any support or any further information, any details, you can contact HESN support at the email hesnsupport@MOH. They will be available and they will support you in any inquiries that you are having. And that's it. As we said, this report will be attached to the specimen and sent to the lab. This is a training environment. In production, it's more details and it's updated, the layout is updated. So that's all. We are here to support you and to guide you. If you have anything you need to ask about, you can contact HESN support regarding using HESN. And that's it. Thank you.